Oh, we're actually live right now?
Yep, we should be good now. Um,
Oh, nice.
and the link should be this one. I'll give it to you right here, right now. Chat, chat. This is the bonfire one,
Mm-hmm.
and the live stream one. Yep, here's the live stream. This is the YouTube one. Depending which one you like, I'm either or. Um, they'll both kind of make it their way.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen at Polymarket. Like, I wonder if they'll be able to pivot to something else.
Oh, instead of the politics stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. They'll have to do something. I mean, they already have some other things. They'll probably try to get that going, but have less volume most likely.
Yeah, yeah. I really think they should get into like I don't know. I don't want to say like niche pop culture, but something that like like guessing who the next Joe Rogan like guest is or something. Like that's obviously gonna have a lot
Mm.
less volume, like you said, but like people are.
I've seen they've had some things like that. Like I've seen they've had some stuff about like different YouTubers, different popular um celebrities and stuff. So I think they could do more things like that or sports. Um, so I imagine that's kind of where it will go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll see. All right. Yeah, let's jump into it, man. Thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I wanted to start off high level, and then we'll go from there. Yeah. So, as much as you feel comfortable doxing yourself, like who is Noah Bragg or who's Noah?
I'm like completely doxxed basically. I have like a ton of stuff online if people want to go find like I think I've got like 200 YouTube videos on my YouTube channel of like me building things and doing things. I've got a podcast that I haven't done for maybe a year, but a podcast with like 150 episodes of me building a Web 2 business. So yeah, people can find stuff, and I'm basically a builder. Like I just like building things. I've built a couple Web 2 businesses. I've sold a business or two, and then I've been in crypto for like 4 years. And in the last like year and a half, I've actually gotten my businesses into crypto. And so I still have a website called Poolfish. That's one of my businesses that is kind of still going. It's a website for liquidity providers. So it has like lots of like Uniswap data and analytics data to help them make decisions. And then I started Stokefire maybe 3.5 months ish ago, and I've been working on that. And so that's kind of like my main focus right now. And it's a mobile game that's built on chain. And so yeah, I just like building things, like creating things. That's what really motivates me and gets me excited. And I'm really into crypto, enjoy crypto stuff. So that's pretty much me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I saw that you had a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that. So yeah, it does seem like you're comfortable kind of building it public, which is great. I was gonna ask you a little bit about kind of the Web 2 company. I know you sold it,
Hmm.
which is I don't know, like I don't know if it's an observation I have or maybe it's the people I interact with, but like a lot of builders on well, actually just a lot of people in Web 3, I would say. Um, if they've gotten big in Web 3, it's like their first time ever, running a company. Let's say like
Mm.
they are their own company, like as a content creator or whatever it is that they're doing. This is like their first time running something more than like $10,000 or something like that. So like it seems kind of rare because I've spoken to a couple people that like uh have gone companies from like 10 million ARR to like over 100 million, and now they're in Web 3. And to me, it's like those people are um, very few, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
um their experience shows, and it's very clear to me, like based on how they approach things in Web3. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that in terms of like, um, like what was that business? Why
Yeah.
did you sell it? I'm guessing you sold it because crypto was a bit more interesting, or you were just ready. Yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted to talk a little bit about that, and if you think that helps you with what you're doing now, essentially Web3.
Yeah. I mean, so I kind of really got into kind of like bootstrapping. So bootstrapping, if people don't know, it's just like trying to like make businesses without having to raise money and get venture capital and stuff like that. And there's actually like this whole community on online, a lot of people on Twitter and stuff called indie hackers. It's kind of this idea of like a lot of times solo builders that are just trying to make a business online by themselves that it scales with just them at least, but it's not something where it has to become like a huge startup or a big unicorn. It's just like make a nice business online and do it with small, a little bit amount of resources, a lot of times just yourself. And so that's something I really got into. And I just liked the kind of the vision of that, of like, kind of being able to build a business on your own terms. Um, and so that's I kind of started some of my web 2 businesses with that kind of goal in mind, like just trying to build like a SaaS, which is like a software as a service business, and just kind of build something that works, that's profitable, not have to go raise tons of money. And so my first kind of I've had lots of projects, lots of businesses and things I've tried, but really the first one that worked and did pretty well was Potion. And it was a SaaS. It was this tool that allowed you to create a website out of your Notion pages. So I don't know how familiar you are with Notion, but like with Notion, it's kind of like note taking apps. You can do all kinds of things in there, organize data and put content in there. And so what Potion did is, and kind of why I named it Potion, is like you add the magical potion to Notion, and it allows you to like turn your Notion pages into a website, and then it hosts it for you and lets you kind of stylize it and stuff. Yeah, so that was kind of a tool that like pro consumers used, or different kind of small businesses would use to like host their website online. It's just like an easy people, or it's an easy way for people to make a website with a tool they're already in every day, like Notion. Um, so yeah, it went pretty well. Like it kind of grew slowly, and I spent maybe 2.5 years on that business. The first year, I started it while I had a full time tech job, because I'm a software developer. And then I finally got it to a point where I could go on it full time. And ever since I went on that full time, I've been doing my own businesses since then. And then, yeah, I kind of decided to sell it for a couple different reasons. One was that was kind of during like the last crypto bull run, and I was really into crypto. I was very intrigued and wanted to do more in the crypto space. So I was kind of starting to get just a little bit bored with the business, even though like it was going well and stuff. And then the other reason was just like there's always a risk that something could come in and like ruin your business and make it go to zero or whatever. And there's always that little bit of fear, in the back of my head, that like, what if this ends up like it's doing good right now, but what if something changes and then like it doesn't work, tomorrow? And so being able to sell it and kind of move on is just kind of a good way to be like, all right, I've made something that's valuable, sell it, kind of reap some rewards from it, and I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I can kind of move on. Um, I think the other kind of reason is like because I like to build things and make things. It's like there's always like the new thing to build is always an interesting, fun thing, like new challenges to figure out and to solve. And so that's why like eventually I was like, I want to go do something new and different. So yeah, that's kind of why I decided to sell it.
Yeah, no, thanks for walking me through that. Uh, Seems like your intuition was right, at least like from the sense of, Notion this year launched, how to generate websites kind of like natively.
Yeah.
I was using another tool for a while called
Oh,
super.so.
yep. That was my
Um,
biggest competitor.
yeah, yeah, I don't know what it was about them, but I was using super. Um, because you're in that space, and I think we're in like similar. We follow similar people probably on Twitter, but
Probably.
I follow Easlo. He's like a
Oh yeah.
Notion template person. I don't know. I
Yep.
followed him when he was like, I'm pretty sure it's a him. When he was like really small. I think now he's like recently blown up like crazy.
Yeah.
But he was the one that got me into like Notion
Super.
and Super. Yeah, so it made
Yep.
it like very. Yeah, I was just down there, and it like for me like as a non-technical person, I before that website I had a what did I have like a Ugo or Jekyll like static website generator. I forget like what it is, but it
Jekyll
essentially,
maybe.
yeah, I think it was Jekyll. It was like very like low. Like I found like a template or something online. I was able to edit it, like the JavaScript, like just enough to like tailor it to myself, and then I was able to deploy it on like I don't even remember like GitHub pages or something. It was like
Yeah. Like a
very simple.
free option.
Yeah, it was like a free option basically, and it was nice, and it was like way easy. It was better than WordPress for me because WordPress like for some reason I could never get it to click for me. But like updating it when I had like a blog, I was like, this is too much. Like now I have to go back into the JavaScript and like open it up and edit it. So when I found that Notion, like, hey, like I'm already in Notion, and I'll like to
Yeah.
update the content, I just gotta like type and that's it.
Yeah, it was pretty
Um,
magical how it kind of worked. Like you just kind of edit things in Notion like you always do, and then your website just automatically updates. So yeah.
yeah, no, that sounds really cool. That's a really good spot that you were in with Potion, and I mean, in my opinion, I think you timed it well, man. Because I mean, like I'm sure Super is doing fine or whatever, but like, yeah, like you said, it is kind of scary when the
Notion can kind of eat your lunch a little bit.
yeah, exactly, like pretty quickly too. And it looks like they're going after a couple markets. That's awesome. So let's see. I wanted to go into your Poolfish app for a little bit. So what
Yeah.
kind of I was poking around in it, and I'm trying to understand kind of like what made you want to build Poolfish, and is it and this could be a little bit of like I've been going deeper recently as like a so I've been in the crypto space for a while, but I haven't really messed around with like liquidity pools. So
Yeah.
can you walk me through kind of like like the problem that you're trying to solve with Poolfish as like a
Mhm.
noob, like as someone that has no idea what to do with liquidity pools.
Yeah, so kind of what I did with Poolfish was I was kind of, I wanted to start a business in crypto, and I was looking at the space and I was like, what has worked in crypto that I can like build something around? Because the problem with crypto is a lot of it's new technology. There's a lot of kind of speculation, and it's very volatile, right? So it's like there's a lot of things that work one month and then they don't work the next month. And to make that work, what a lot of crypto companies do and have to do is they go raise a ton of money, right? Like they get a lot of venture backed, they get investment, or it's either that or it's like you have to have a token of some sort
Yeah.
that people are investing in. And so as a bootstrapper, I was like, where can I make a business in crypto that can like work in between all that? And so this was in the bear market, and I was doing some liquidity providing investing myself, and it really was the one thing, like I'd kind of decided when I looked at all of crypto that liquidity providing was like the one crypto thing that had found product market fit and that like had worked. Because Uniswap has been doing this for years now, and like there's been different dexes that do it as well. And the fees that you make from liquidity providing are like real fees. Like this is like real yield, where what's happening is people are trading on a DEX. They're trading, you want to buy some meme coin, and you have to go from ETH to that meme coin. Um, you're paying a fee to the liquidity providers, since they're providing a service basically where they have the liquidity to allow you to swap from ETH to the meme coin, and you pay them a fee. So it's like it's a real yield, and there's like product market fit there where it's like you're actually serving someone for real. And it's not one of these, crypto projects where all the yield is like this fake made up like incentives or inflating a token away that
Yeah.
eventually has no value. So it was the one thing I saw in crypto that's like, okay, there's actually something there that's like working and that I think is going to continue to work because there's real money being made. There's a real service being provided. And so I looked at liquidity providing. Is like, all right, how can I make a business kind of around liquidity providing and like solve a problem that's helpful for people there. And so actually what I ended up doing was I bought the website from somebody else. So Poolfish used to be called Uniswap.fish because it was built all around Uniswap, and a kind of solo developer built it. And it was around for like 2 years. It had a decent amount of traffic. And so I found it because I was liquidity providing myself and thought that it would be a good website to buy. And so I went and bought that website, kind of rebranded it, added lots of features, kind of added things to it, and then kind of built kind of a business around it because it actually was a website that made no money. It just had like traffic. And so I kind of built it into a business. Um, and so, yeah, to go more, because I know you asked about the liquidity providing part. Um, Basic and so how kind of Poolfish helps that, I guess, is when you're liquidity providing, one of the things you're doing is you're trying to find opportunities. Like there's so many different pools that people are trading. And so as a liquidity provider, you're like, okay, where can I put my liquidity where it's going to gain the most fees? And typically that has something to do with where a lot of volume is going, where people are trading right now. There's different like fee tiers, like fee buckets for each pool that gives the liquidity provider more fees. And so Poolfish has like this pool explorer where you can kind of filter down different things and find pools, or you can find new pools to then put your liquidity. So that's one of the problems it's trying to help solve, is find the opportunities. And then the second thing is there's this whole thing of V3 pools. So Uniswap launched V3, which it's kind of this whole technical thing that could be hard to explain, but basically when you provide your liquidity, you decide more than just what pool to provide it to. You're then also deciding what range
Yeah.
basically that you want to provide your liquidity at. And so there's like a price of any pool, there's a price, and you're trying to kind of match your liquidity, somewhat in a range around that price, so that as the price is kind of moving around, your liquidity is used, but it's optimized in that it's only used at that range. Where kind of the old version of Uniswap, which is V2, which is still used a lot today, when you provide liquidity in that, your liquidity is provided over the whole price range. And so it makes your liquidity not as optimized and you get less fees over that.
Got it.
And so what Poolfish does is it has like this calculator where you can basically play around with different ranges in a pool and kind of just kind of play around with the potential of what fees you could get. And so it will tell you these are the potential fees you could make based on historical data around volume at those ranges. So it kind of helps a liquidity provider make a position in a pool. So I don't know. I'm sure you have like a follow up after that because I don't know how much of that made sense because
No,
it is kind of it gets into the weeds.
no, it's awesome. Actually, like you answered a lot of questions. So like I follow it enough. Like I remember when Uniswap announced V3, and like there was like obviously when it first launched, there wasn't that much money in V3 contracts versus
Hmm.
their old V2. And like so I do remember, I vaguely remember some of these things. And now that you're describing it, like it all kind of starts clicking to me, and it all starts making a lot more sense, you know. So like I remember like I recently tried doing like a because like I recently joined Nouns. I was like trying to do liquidity providing for Nouns, and it started
Mm,
asking me for like the range, and I was like, "This
what's
isn't
that?
like what's that? Like I'm kind of confused. Like what do you mean?" And so then I was like, "Oh, I wonder if it's like doing it where you kind of exactly what you said. Like if I put it in as like usually Nouns like the lowest I've seen in the last couple like months or so is like 2.5 is like a like really low, and then like 10 would be like kind of high at this point. So
Yeah.
I could be like, okay, like between 2.5 and 7, like that's where I want to provide the liquidity. And if it goes past that, then obviously like my impact, I guess, is lower or something. So I had a feeling it kind of like it all played into like what you were just saying. So thanks for literally describing that. And that's really cool, like what Poolfish is trying to do. I had a feeling I was like, I bet it's like trying to make you find like what pool like is best, like kind of like an
Yeah.
arbitrage, like where can you get the fees for
Yeah.
the best. So kind of randomly, are you trying to go for like we're gonna get into Stokefire, I promise.
Yes.
Are you trying to go for like the levels? Do you remember levels like where he has like five,
Oh,
six,
yeah, like
seven
levels on
businesses?
Twitter.
Yeah, levels on Twitter. You try to go for the levels like in terms of
Um,
companies right now.
I mean, I definitely so he's an indie hacker, so he
Yeah,
makes businesses solo, and so I'm definitely following that. He does this thing where he like makes a business and then like he moves on to the next business, but he still keeps the last one and
yeah,
kind of keeps them all going and automated and stuff.
yeah,
Um, I don't think I necessarily want to do that. Like in some ways it's really hard for me to focus on more than one thing, I guess. And so like even now like I'm starting to think maybe I should sell pool fish because it's not really something I'm focusing on right now and I can't really and I kind of don't want to. And so it definitely hasn't been making as much money as a business the last couple months because I haven't been focusing on it. And so I have considered maybe selling it. But at the same time, it's also a good business in that it's just like a very passive business where it's just
yeah.
like a website. Traffic kind of comes through mostly through Google and people that are direct searching it or going to it. And yeah, it doesn't have to take a ton of my time, which is nice. But yeah, I don't really want to do like 5, 7 different businesses at the same time, like I think Levels does.
Yeah, levels is a little much, and I know a lot of people are doing that too. I'm sure there's other people other than levels doing this too. I
Yeah,
feel like that's like the meta right now. No, that's really cool. Honestly, like I could see how like what Poolfish is trying to solve for, and what is the fee structure in there for levels? Then I mean, for Poolfish, is
Poolfish.
it do you get like a percentage cut like of those fees or?
Well, no, so I have a couple of different things. So one, I have sponsors, and that's what's mainly dropped off the last couple of months. But typically, I'll have like two different crypto companies that are sponsoring the website to get in front of all the traffic. And a
Mm,
lot of times, it's like a crypto company that's also helping liquidity providers, or it's like a DEX or something like that. And so that's one of the ways I've made money is through having crypto companies pay to just get on the website. The second way is I added like a pro kind of like SaaS. So like, you get all the free things that you get with the website. But if you want, if you're like a very pro liquidity provider and you need a little bit more, you need some extra features, you can pay $30 a month to get the pro version, which kind of unlocks a couple extra features. So that's kind of the other way that it makes money. And then the third way is this last spring, I made a video course that's just like a one-time purchase video course that, I'm not trying to. So basically, I'm trying to teach. I teach in that course how to do liquidity providing and kind of how the tech works, how some of the math works, and just like how it all works. I'm not necessarily trying to tell people, hey, this is how you should invest and this is what you should put your money into because I don't want to get into that. But it's mainly a course to kind of help people get started in liquidity providing. So that's kind of like the third thing that I offer on the website that people come through and they can pay for a one-time thing to unlock that.
awesome. Yeah. No, thanks for that. Seriously, appreciate you kind of giving the insight to all that. Yeah, so I think people should definitely check out Poolfish. I'll be checking it out too, just to see what's in there, poke around, explore that
Yeah,
world. All right. So for Stokefire, uh,
yeah,
sorry, I'm like jumping, but I thought it was like cool, like that you have actually built a business, sold it, and you already started another Web3 business, and you're still kind of running it. And now you're kind of in Web3 gaming. So like how like
yeah.
walk me through kind of like all right, so like I have friends who work in the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
And gaming as a whole is like it's like a 70 billion, I forget like what the market cap. It's a
It's
freaking
big.
huge. It's big. Yeah, it's like bigger than movies now, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So very competitive space, very hard. And then you sprinkle in the Web3 and you make it just a little bit harder for
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, walk me through that. Like what made you want to start a Web3 gaming company, essentially Stokefire?
Yeah, I mean, so I've jumped all around like different crypto stuff, and I like using crypto projects. And one of my favorite, a lot of my favorite projects are kind of like crypto games and like trying out, people that are trying kind of new things with games and crypto. Um, And I've played lots of games growing up and stuff. I don't know if I'd even go that far to say like I'm a gamer though. Like I played lots of games, but I'm not one of those that like play every day or every weekend. Um, I think what gaming allows though is, and building a game is just like it's like this canvas to like build something really interesting. And there's just a lot of creativity to it that I really enjoy. And so that's one of the things that kind of drew me to it. The other thing was, I think this was like in last spring when I was starting to kind of dream up this idea and think about building a game. Um, the, just a lot of people in crypto kind of talking about we need apps. Like we have all this infrastructure stuff, we have all the blockchains, we got the layer ones, we got the layer twos. We need like actually good apps for people to want to come and use and play. And I was just like, I think I want to go make one of those apps. Like I agree, we we need more apps in crypto. We need like good things to do that are valuable. And building a game just in crypto just sounded really fun and exciting to me. I love like economy kind of stuff, and that's one of the things that draws me to crypto. And I think that's what's really cool in crypto games that you can do is like build an economy a part of the game. And there's just a lot of interesting kind of experimentation and things that you can do with that. And there's been a lot of crypto games, there's been Axie Infinity, there's been these games that kind of do well for a little bit, but I think they kind of get it wrong, and that's why they do well and then they kind of blow up, and then people don't really talk about them anymore, even though I'm pretty sure Axie Infinity still is like alive and has a decent player base. But yeah, so I saw like some potential there for crypto video games to do well. I don't know if anyone's, kind of gotten it quite right. And so I just had some ideas for how maybe I could make a crypto game that could make a lot of sense. And so yeah, just kind of started to go for it. And really Stokefire, it's kind of like accumulation, or it's like bringing together almost all of my different like favorite games that I play and grew up playing. It's like Civilization 5, Age of Empires 2. I wasn't a big Clash of Clans player, but there's definitely some ideas coming from that. um, there's this game called A Dark Room. So yeah, there's like multiple different games that I enjoyed, and a lot of times it is for me like a lot of my favorite games are like civilization village building kind of games. And so that's kind of what I did with Stokefire. Is like, all right, how can I take the parts that I like from each of those games, kind of put it together in something that works well for mobile and works well in the crypto space. So yeah, that's that's kind of what I'm trying to do with it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it I saw it and I instantly I was like, yeah, this is dope. Have you actually, like, just a quick like segue, but like have you watched the video that they, like, Jesse was on a podcast recently?
From base,
Yeah, Jesse from Base. Yeah, sorry.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'll send it to you, dude. It got me so hyped. Like whenever
What
like
happened?
he's saying like exactly what you're saying, which is like we got to build more apps, like we got to like bring more
Oh,
experiences on chain. But like, man, he got me gassed. Bro. I was like, he was like, you need to start going like full like missionary style, like, or status, like, like you got to bring in one non crypto person into crypto like once a week or something. And I was like, and I used to do that a long time ago, like, so I've been in crypto since 2012, and I used to do that like 2015 is when I started feeling comfortable, like where I was like, okay, I think I know like what I'm talking about when I say blockchain, like I know what that
yeah,
means now. So around like 2015 to like 2018, I was going hard, like just going to meetups, like trying to tell people come to the meetup with me. And I kind of just like, I wouldn't say I stopped, or like I've kind of just like stopped going as hard. And I was, after watching that, I'll send it to you. I was like, okay,
yeah,
I
that'd
need to
be
start
cool.
doing it again. Like I feel like I've gotten comfortable with like everyone, like I speak to people on chain and like I don't have to explain too many things to them. So that's kind of nice.
Hmm.
But I was like, yeah, we need to start getting people back in here again. Like we need more normies
Yeah.
back in here. Um, have you ever developed an iOS app before? Or was this like your first time kind of going into that realm as
Um,
well?
I have, yeah. Actually, my first like tech job was on like the mobile team. So I've done iOS and Android, and those were like native apps that I was building. So it was like done in Swift for iOS, or Android is like Kotlin. So it's like you're building natively for that platform. Where now, like in Stokefire, it's actually in React Native and Expo. So it's kind of built in like web app kind of platforms, which the last 3 or 4 years I've been doing more web app kind of stuff, mostly like websites and applications on in your browser. But yeah, so it uses a lot of those same technologies just in a mobile app. But yeah, so I've kind of done a lot of random stuff, but I have done some mobile apps before. And actually, one of my first projects as like a computer science, software developer, like learning, was I made an iOS game called Space Escape, I think it was called, and it was like a mobile game on iOS. That was maybe like 10 years ago. So it probably, it wasn't great, but it was something. It was my first, experience learning game stuff.
Yeah, yeah. When you were making Stokefire, did you have like this whole conundrum versus like PWA versus fully dedicated app?
Oh yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It's
Well,
it's it is a hard question.
yeah. I mean, like as a non-technical, I mean, I'm like, so my role is kind of weird in real life. Like, I'm like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I guess like a technical architect, product manager, weird role, but like more business facing.
Okay.
Um, it's odd. That's just the easiest way to describe it. So like I know a little bit about tech and stuff like that, but like for the non-tech people, what you know, it's funny because like on Warpcast, I see like people go at it, and Dan's like, just don't build the PWA,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems to trigger people like very
Yep.
quickly. So like, yeah, can you walk me through kind of that decision process for you? Like, what made you go like full dedicated app, and then
Well, kind of the whole thing is a dedicated app is better. Like it is. I think everyone would agree that it's better to have a dedicated app. And I think especially if you're trying to get normal consumer people that aren't in crypto much, none of them have heard of PWAs. No one uses PWAs. The only reason that in crypto we have these apps that are using PWAs is because it gets you around the App Store review process,
yeah,
which both Apple and Google are kind of, they're not very friendly to crypto apps, and it's a whole thing to kind of get through that process, and it takes a lot of time. And so then for crypto, it's just like easier to just do the PWA. But I think everyone would agree that like the experience just isn't as good on a PWA. One, like for normal consumers, like they would just be confused on how to install it and get it. Like they're just used to going to the app store and downloading something. And then the kind of the second thing is like the it just doesn't load as fast. It doesn't move around to different like tabs as quickly. And I think it's actually better on Android, but for some reason on like Apple phones, PWAs are just kind of weird. Like they don't even work as well as like a normal website in the browser, I feel like.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of why, I did have to debate it though, because I was like, I don't even know if I can get through the like App Store process. Like I can try, but then that could be a lot of wasted work if that doesn't end up working out. So it's definitely kind of a headache to get through that. But I decided to just kind of go for it because I felt like that was the better decision long term. And thankfully it worked out. But yeah, that was kind of the main thinking around going for the dedicated app. And I kind of agree with Dan, kind of his kind of thinking around the dedicated app versus the PWA.
yeah. Do you feel like now that you've introduced fire into your game, like
Hmm.
obviously, knock on wood, hopefully no feds are listening, but like, do you think that might like because they're kind of looking for like if you're gonna be like circumventing fees and like
The
stuff
App
like that,
Store.
right? Yeah, like the App Store review team, like aren't they looking mostly for that? Like, and when
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so there's definitely, I mean, there's potentially things in the game right now that they just don't know about that they probably wouldn't like. And it's just like you can. you can kind of get around things by like sending people to a website to do stuff or whatever. Um, but yeah, they don't really like crypto because yeah, it's like for them, it's like, are you just like getting around our fees and things like that? Or they don't understand things like they think that if you move any money around that you might be like a bank basically, like they treat
Yeah.
you like you're a bank. But like we know, like in crypto, it's like it's all decentralized. It's not like I have control of the money. It's like it's moving through people's wallets that they own and stuff. So it's just things that they don't really like or maybe completely understand or see the same way we do. um, so yeah, there's definitely potential for them to be like, hey, we don't like what you're doing in your app. And I think even like Warpcast has had to do this to some extent of like the reviewers just don't actually look through the whole app and like go
Yeah.
through all the things. And like there are some things kind of hidden in an app unless you have like the right accounts and stuff. And so like even like technically like Warpcast with its frame transactions and stuff like that, like those are things that the app store probably wouldn't like either. um,
True.
but it's just things that the the apps the review teams don't really get into. um, so yeah, there's always potential for them to not like it or decide that yeah, we don't like, you need to change this thing or something like that. And so kind of my thinking on that is just like to try putting it in the app, and then if they find it and think that's a problem, then I'll have to deal with it at that point. And so that's why like having a PWA is definitely safer to just like have that option. And that's something I could always do is like go build like a web version or something like that to just kind of have as like an add-on to the mobile app. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, hopefully you don't have to experience any of those pain
hopefully.
points. Yeah. Yeah. I'm rooting for you on that. Um, I guess I got a couple questions still, like before we kind of dive into the game. The first one is like, do you feel that you're at a disadvantage as someone that has never built a game? Do you do you find that to be scary or holding you back or like maybe negative, or do you think it's like like it's like liberating? You're like, I'm not constrained of like this is what a fun game is supposed to be. Like you're kind of like, I think this will be fun, and you're kind of just shipping it. Like what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's really, I just enjoy the process. I enjoy the creative process of building something and making something. I mean, there's definitely I've had some experience building like a game or two, but I'm definitely not like a game developer. Like I've not worked at like the game tech companies or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so there's definitely some things I'll maybe have to figure out as I go. I'm definitely weaker on maybe like the art side. And I've done some kind of art, kind of designing stuff, but that's definitely one of my weaker sides. But it's kind of something I want to play around with, and do like some of the pixel art myself, and some of the animation of that myself. Like I think that'd be fun. But that is also something I could hire someone to help me do if I am feel like I'm lacking there. um so yeah, that's probably maybe probably one of my weaker sides of the game dev kind of stuff. um yeah, other than that, like I don't feel too like disadvantaged or anything. Like um I think it's I see it as like a fun challenge to like build a fun game and learn and grow as I do it. Like that's the fun part for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could see that.
And I guess kind of another answer to that is like, I guess all the things that I'm doing, they're it's kind of a lot. So it's like I don't think there's I guess I'm not trying to say I'm like amazing or anything, but like that. But it's like basically I have to be a jack of all trades to kind of do all the different parts of making Stokefire, because it's like you have to know the smart contract stuff, you have to know like the UI, and then also like once I get into more art animation kind of stuff, like figuring that out, um, and then like back end kind of things. Like there's a lot of different, I guess, kind of pieces that go into making a game, that especially a game that's on chain, right? Like that adds like a whole extra level. And so it's hard to find someone that's can do all those things and be 100% at all those things. I'm kind of midway maybe at all of them. So
Yeah. 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 No, I agree. I think maybe like if you, like you said, I think you'd be good at spotting, like, if you were lacking in the art area, you could be like, okay, you can get someone else to do the art for you. And there's plenty of
Hmm.
like talented artists on Farcaster as well,
True.
especially pixel artists. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like no, I think you're good. Like you're doing great right now with everything. Um, yeah, why? What made you launch a token? Like, you know,
Yeah.
going back, like, were you going back to like doing Web3 gaming and like in general, like now you're doing tokenomics too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is you're not one, like, it's not really a crypto project, I feel like, unless you have a token. Like, that's kind of one of the like, that it brings in, I think, one of the superpowers of crypto, which is speculation, right? Like, that's people don't necessarily like to say that, especially when they talk about, like, meme coins and stuff, but really one of the new abilities that crypto brings in is being able to speculate on things. And, there's downsides to that as well as there are upsides to that. And so with this game, like, I'm trying to use the positive sides, the positive things of speculation to kind of make the Stokefire economy work. So it's like a very important part actually to make the game one, kind of be fun. Like, it's part of the fun part, but it's also it's a part of the reward mechanism that makes the game work. And I think it's kind of a nice tool to have for that. The other thing that's obviously nice about a token is it can help you like bootstrap something. Um, if I built a mobile game, kind of just like in the normal Web 2 world, it would, it would be very hard to make a profitable game that makes revenue, especially like bootstrapping it. And so a token kind of is almost like this bootstrapping lever that you can have that helps you kind of bootstrap, kind of be able to make some extra revenue with that because of the speculation side of things, that then can help you to make like a better game without having to go like get funding, raise capital, things like that. And so those are some of the kind of positives of a token that I thought would be interesting to try, as well as it's just like it's interesting. Like, I don't know, I think it's fun. Like, I wanted to figure out how to make the token and economy involved with that like work in a game. Like, I think it's very interesting, and that's kind of what drew me to that kind of option.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a great name too, Fire.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, yeah,
A
that's
name that kind of
fantastic,
went
man.
with the game and
Yeah,
get the fire going.
exactly. There you go. So for people that haven't played the game, do you want to kind of explain at a high level? Like, I mean, obviously, it's like
Maybe you
playing
should
it.
explain it.
You want me to explain it? All right, there you
Sure.
go. Yeah, let's do
And
that.
then I can come in and fill anything
All
if
right,
there's anything
so
missing.
yeah, so Stokefire is it's simple premise. You want to keep it. I mean, it sounds simple, but you want to keep a fire lit. And there's a little animation that's really cute, and it just wavers. I think you have 72 hours, so 3 days,
Yeah, 3 days.
before it goes off. During those 3 days, you have to chop wood for the fire. You also can build huts or houses with the
Yep.
wood, a little bit of Catan, and you got to collect food as well. So, the more houses you have or huts, the more villagers you can have. The more villagers you have, the more you can allocate them to. Well, at least now you can actually even designate the specific split on the allocation of who should go get wood or chop wood and who should go get food. And there's
Hmm.
different timers on each of those. So I think I forget what wood is, like 5 hours,
6 hours.
6 hours, yeah. And
Yeah.
then food's like every three, I think.
Yep.
Um, and so yeah, you kind of just have to before the 72 hours kind of runs out, you have to have enough wood to stoke the fire, and you have to have enough food for all your villagers, or else some die,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then and points go down, and then so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
The
Well,
fire
and you can
took,
attack other villages.
yeah, oh, that's true. So some of the things that got rolled out, and I want to say recently because like you're moving at a very quick Farcaster pace, which is fun for us here, but essentially in the last 2 weeks. So now you could do different allocations of villagers for different tasks. So that's new. It used to be kind of all or
Just
none.
click and however
Yeah,
many
exactly.
villagers you had, just did that.
Rating. And I really do like the two, like the leaderboard plus your like neighbors. I really do like
The
that.
neighbors.
Yeah, I really do like that because I feel like um
That's good to know.
it, no, like seriously, like it actually makes me feel like I'm not that far down the leaderboard when I look at that thing, because there's some people above me and there's some people below me. And then I finally like one day clicked on the leaderboard and I'm like, damn, like I'm not even, well, I am actually top 100, but still, like not that there's like a thousand, 3,000 or bajillion people playing, but like I was like, damn, like I'm not that high. There's some
Yeah,
people, that are really high up there. What else? And I know you're gonna make the rating more complex too. Pretty like
more
you're gonna,
strategy. Yeah,
yeah, more strategy behind it. So it
yeah.
seems like, yeah, it's changing quickly, and I like it. And yeah,
Good. Thanks. That's good to hear. And you did a good job. You explained it pretty
woo,
well. I like the feedback in there too. Um, yeah, I'd say like kind of simply, there's almost like two main goals to Stokefire. Is one, you got to keep your fire alive because the villagers love to be warm, right? Like they just love the fire. They want to get around the fire. So that's the first goal. Otherwise, your village just dies, or it gets raised, and you lose your progress. And then the second goal is you're just trying to grow your village. You just want to get more villagers in there, grow your population. And that's kind of the main goal, is just grow your population. And whenever you do grow your population, that's when your score goes up. That's how you get a higher score. And then the rewards are all tied into your score. So yeah, those are kind of things. And then, like, the other thing I'm trying to do with it is like it's built, right now on the Farcaster social graph, and I want to like make it so you have like fun, like little interactions with your friends on Farcaster that you kind of know, from seeing their content or whatever. But it's also you can go steal their wood, you can take their food. So it kind of gives some different ways to have some fun kind of social interactions. And that's what I want to build more towards as well, is like making it kind of a fun social game that has some strategy to it. Like it's kind of mainly a strategy game and then kind of a social game. So it's like bringing in some of that like multiplayer aspect into it. And so I have lots of ideas of ways to like go in those directions. And I'll just, have to kind of slowly build towards that, and make progress and listen to feedback and all that.
yeah. What would you say? What has like so? How long have you been building it now for? Like from let's
It's
just
probably
say,
been almost 4 months. It's been only a month, almost a month since I launched the token. And before that, so that's more or less when like a lot of players or more players have started playing and stuff. Before that, we had like 2 months or so, which I think you were a part of that. You were
yeah,
one of the early access people where we just had like 20 of us. There's just 20 of us, and this is before the token. It was just building out the first versions of it. So yes, thank you for being one of those very early people.
yeah.
That was helpful.
I'm looking forward to my app. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. Uh, but so you've been at it, let's say 4 months, and like in the
Mhm.
last like month and a half, let's say 2 months, it's gotten like more people have gone, more people are playing it essentially. So even like
Mhm.
even Dan kind of went out of his way to say that he's playing. I think even Horsefax is playing it too, if I'm not mistaken, because I've seen him raid a
Yeah.
couple people.
Yeah, Horsefax is playing it. Dan has not actually played it. Dan just kind of casted about it, which was
Yeah,
really nice of him. But yeah, Horsefax has been playing, just some different Farcaster people have been playing. Some people, they drop out, like they try, and I don't know if they don't get it exactly, or like it's too much for them to keep their villagers going. But I have been thankful to see that like a very high percentage of people stick around. Actually, like the numbers are pretty good, and like people that play it and start and then like keep their village going, so far at least. So I've been very happy with like the retention, and it seems like people are enjoying it. I think one of the challenges is kind of, for sure, the challenge that I feel all the time, and I'm already kind of seeing, is that like I'm trying to build a game that you can kind of play passively for a long period of time. Like
Yeah.
the idea that you could have a village for a year or 2 years, and you're just continually working on your village, and like that's it's hard enough to make a game, but then to make a game, it's hard enough to make a game that people play for 5 hours, 10 hours, and that's like a lot of what indie dev kind of games are. It's like it's an experience where you go and play this game for a couple hours, you complete the game, and then it's like done, right? And so it's kind of an extra challenge to be like, all right, can I make something that people want to kind of do over a long period of time and keep doing? And so I kind of always feel the challenge of like, eventually people kind of gets a little stale, or they get a little bit bored of it, because it's like you've been growing this village for like a month. So it's like eventually it's like you're kind of doing the same thing. And so that's where obviously me kind of building quick updates, adding more to it, making it more fun, making there be more things you can do is like important. But I kind of feel that pressure a little bit to kind of keep adding, keep making it better, so that the people that have been doing it for a while kind of continue to be engaged and continue to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um,
and I know
so
when we were doing our pre-talk, you were talking about like making it less like when the 72 hours hit, like it's not like a black and white like response,
yep,
like okay, we're gonna take away everything that like
yeah.
you've worked towards in the last month, because you got
You
sick
at least
or
keep your rewards, at
yeah.
least.
Yeah, I know you've been like trying to make it like a little like of a softer landing,
Hmm.
which I think will help, because um, yeah, we were talking about how Duolingo kind of lets you like the only streaks I have right now. It's kind of funny. Like I'm not a streaks person, but the only streaks I have are Stokefire, Duolingo, and I used to actually not like the Farcaster like post in a channel streak.
Streak, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like opposed to it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna like. I tried and I made it to like 5 days, but surprisingly, I'm like at day 27 now for my own channel, and now I'm like,
Hey, well, you're
okay,
doing it.
yeah. So now like I'm like, okay, I got 3 streaks, and I'm like, and I haven't killed my sourdough. Like, okay, I was like, we're reaching like a culmination point of like things that I'm keeping alive here, guys.
Well, you're doing it. You're doing it.
Now I just got to go back into running again. That was one I had for a while too, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think that will help with like um it doesn't feel like the end of the world, because
Right.
some people might just rage quit too, like they're like, village is dead, I'm out. Like
Yeah. Yep.
uh
Exactly.
what's
Yeah, I
been the
think that
most
will help.
what's been the most surprising thing you've learned, like either like from the community or like while developing like a new skill, or like what's been the most surprising thing for you?
Hmm. Um.
It could be positive or negative too, it's like
I mean, I think one of the things, and this is another thing where it's a challenge in some ways because you have to kind of keep it in balance. Um, is that this is like I definitely seen in Stokefire some of the superpower of crypto, like what crypto can allow, and there's some, that's why there's a balance. Some of it can be positive, some of it can be negative, and that's that like when you add kind of money into things, it's like you add reward. Um, it does really incentivize people. And I've seen that in Stokefire where it's like these people, they're playing the game, and some, I'd say a decent amount of the Stokefire players, they're playing it because they find it kind of enjoyable. They have a community here on Farcaster, and it's like a fun way to interact with people. But there's definitely some people that are playing it because of that potential reward they could get from playing it. And it's just interesting to see kind of that superpower of like, if you have some reward, those people they'll really stay engaged. And that's one of the reasons, like, I think there's been like a high retention of people playing it every day. But then that's, it's something to be careful of too. And that's why I'm always kind of thinking about is like, the game can't be people are just doing it to make money, because eventually that falls flat. Like the even the rewards now, like they kind of go up and down. Some days there's hardly not many rewards being given out, and then other days, just based on kind of the tokenomics and stuff, there are some more rewards given out. And so it's like the game can't just work on that alone, because that will eventually dry up, or not dry up completely, but ideally not, but it will kind of come and go. It's volatile, like any token and things. And so it's kind of a challenge because like you have people coming in potentially for kind of the wrong reasons, but it's nice having that incentive as kind of a carrot to kind of get them to learn the game, enjoy the game, but then ultimately like you have to make a fun game that they enjoy, that they want to play and stay around for. So it's been very interesting, I guess, to see that part of it and then like kind of figure out the problems that come from that and like try to do it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, they come for the money and they stay for the memes. I've been cracking up with some of the memes on the Stokefire channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, let's see. I'm looking at the time. Sorry. Yeah. Can you tell me about? I actually had a question. So, what's gonna happen with the hyper sub? Are you still thinking about keeping that around, or?
No, that's pretty much like that's I think it's even like paused right now, so I don't think people can like continue it. Maybe they can. I don't know. Maybe I have to turn it off more. If you're a current member, you might be able to add to it, but I don't know why you would. Because yeah, it's basically like kind of closed. That was kind of the hyper sub. I think it worked out pretty well. Like the whole idea of that was like to build like a little community of early access people, where they had to have a little skin in the game, right? Like they had to pay, I don't know, $13 for a month to like get into the group to be able to start playing Stokefire early on. Um, and so, yeah, I really just wanted to know that people were like, I wanted a small group of people, but I wanted them to have skin in the game where they're like actually going to play it and actually have good feedback and stuff, which the whole group I think was really great for that, you included. So thanks for that. And then, once I kind of launched the token, which was kind of, I wanted it to be a surprise to everybody, which I think it ended up being a surprise. Um,
100%.
good.
I just got like, just to give you perspective, I was like I was pretty busy all day, I think, and then I kept seeing like the messages pop off of people like saying fire token, and I was like, what the hell is going on in that chat now? And I was like, all right, I'll look at that later. So yeah, it was a surprise. I had no idea until like I literally like opened my phone and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, and I really wanted it to be like a quiet, low thing because I didn't want like airdrop farmers to like find it or like come in and like try to airdrop farm the whole thing. So yeah, the group was really just like an early on thing, and then now it's kind of going on to having like the token and a whole new kind of revenue model around that. So yeah, I mean, we'll still have like the group chat, like we have our group chat for like that hyper sub, kind of just for like early OGs, basically, to chat in there. And I still got to figure out like how to have maybe a better community for all of Stokefire to like open up to more people. I'm still figuring out what I want to do with that.
yeah, I remember you mentioning you were talking about maybe possibly a Discord or some
Hmm.
other kind of tool that could bridge the gap for, because it seems, because you were saying that you were starting to get some people that like have Farcaster accounts, but they're not necessarily in Farcaster. They're
Right.
more.
Like half of the people I think found it through Twitter actually. And they have a Farcaster account just because, a lot of people created accounts back when like DGen and that kind of stuff. But they don't actually use Farcaster like ever. So really like half of the players are kind of there's kind of not like a community really for them because really the community's all on Farcaster. That like we have our Stokefire channel and stuff. And so I think those people kind of feel like there's not a ton of people talking or whatever. And so that's where like a Discord could make sense. But I'd like to kind of like use the Farcaster like building blocks to maybe make that community like into the app or like kind of keep it on Farcaster in some way, but still figuring that out. And if I did do a Discord, it's kind of like I feel like I would be moving towards that way, which would kind of make it maybe harder to do like my own kind of Farcaster community built on Farcaster later. So I don't know. I haven't figured it out or decided what I want to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think like we were chatting about it. I think like you your game, like the app you already have, would be like perfect for like what Dan says, like as a Farcaster channel specific client. Like it'd be,
Hmm.
you could like you already have, like you're able to swap inside the app like fire
Hmm.
with like other like ETH essentially.
Yeah.
You already have the leaderboard. You have yeah, like if you just brought in that like Farcaster channel, then yeah, it'd be like the perfect channel specific client. Probably
Yeah.
like the best example of it, I would say. You know, I don't think I've seen too many channel specific clients.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing that got me excited about building something on top of Farcaster is like there's been different clients, for Farcaster. But they're all kind of just copies of Warpcast, and I feel like there just doesn't, at least right now with how small Farcaster is, that just doesn't make a ton of sense for people to go over to those things. But I kind of thought like a client that's, I kind of see it as like a light client where it's like, it's like a channel client, or something where it's like you're already going to Stokefire to like play the game, and it's like you're going there kind of for another reason. But then if the community's kind of there chatting and stuff, it just kind of gives you more reason to kind of be a part of that community and interact with those people. So yeah, I feel like it actually makes more sense than a lot of the Farcaster clients that have been built and kind of created with, because there's another reason you're already going to the app. So if you kind of build the community there on Farcaster through the channel and stuff, like I think that could make a lot of sense for a
yeah,
client.
yeah, and it's like it'd be a client that you're going to, or we're already going to this app more than
You already got to
once.
gather. You already got to
Yeah,
gather the
like
food and chop the wood.
dude, like I'm on this app 3 times a day easily. Last night I woke up like my kid woke up at you're gonna laugh. My kid woke up because she's like teething, and I was like 2 a.m. and I was like, well, I know the timers have reset by now. I was like, might as well chop some wood and gather some food while I'm awake for these 30 minutes.
No, that's great. I'm actually also a little torn with that too. I'm curious what you think, because I think it's fun. Like, I think it's an interesting thing of like timing it and stuff. But in longer term, it's like, do you want to live according to the Stokefire timers?
Yeah.
um, and so, I don't want it to be a hindrance to anybody. And so I have thought of like, could I eventually, and maybe that's even where it starts, where it's like, maybe the game starts out where you kind of have to manually, gather and chop and stuff like that. But maybe as you build out your village, maybe you're only in that state for a couple weeks. And then you get to the point where it's almost more automated, where it's like you've built some things in place that are like automatically gathering food and chopping wood for you. And you can go back to like make decisions and change things and do strategic stuff. But it's more automated of like getting the resources.
Yeah.
I think maybe moving, like, do you think that'd be a good idea to move towards that so that you're not like living on this clock?
I mean, yes, but
I think
yeah,
it is some of the fun. Like, so I think like it is some of the fun of it as well, but like I think that probably gets old eventually.
I think so. I'm also like, I think I've told you like, I played like Dark Souls and Bloodborne and a couple games. So like, I've just been beaten enough where I
Hardcore
think,
games.
yeah, I think I've gotten used to it. Friend Pet too. I was like super early on that, and I had it
Mm,
going for almost like a year, and it wasn't until recently. I think maybe not a year actually, maybe like 7 months, 8 months. It felt like a damn year, but yeah, I think I had the same issue where you were like I was. It felt kind of repetitive, and I've actually been thinking about going back into Front Pet recently because I know that they've done a ton of changes to it.
hmm
Um, yeah, I haven't hit that with Stokefire yet.
Well, that's good to hear.
But it's nice because I feel like every time I visit the app, something is different. So it's almost like kind of
Mm-mm.
nice. Maybe not every time, but it does feel like once a week,
Adding stuff.
some stuff is changing. Like what was the one that pleasantly surprised me recently? Let me look at it real quick. Oh, it
Was
was
it?
like my profile page, I think.
Oh yeah, where you could see your like activity and stuff.
Yeah. See, someone rated who the hell's rating me while we're interviewing you?
As they should, as they
That's
should.
that's jacked up, guys. Luckily, I won, so sucks.
Nice.
um, yeah. Let's
But
see.
there's some people though that like they have lost sleep over Stokefire. Like they're, especially like earlier on, they're like there were some players that like they were setting timers in the middle of the night to get up in the middle of the night to like go chop wood and gather food. And like I think it's kind of fun. Like it's kind of fun and silly for a little bit, but I don't want to ruin people's lives over this
Yeah.
over a long period of time.
Well, so I think the scenario that happens is that this is my speculation, but I think the scenario that happens is that uh let's say like you're just starting off and you only have like 2 wood and then someone raids you and then the timer is like 6 hours or 5 hours, whatever, 6 hours. And so if someone raids you like at hour 5 before the reset and
Yep.
you already chopped the wood and you go down to 0, then you're kind of like stuck. But I feel like the boost that you allowed recently, so you can
Yeah, speed up.
speed up or truncate the time. I feel like that should alleviate some of it. Obviously, that would
Hmm.
mean someone has to have fire to be willing to pay the fee. I don't know what the fee is for boosting, but
It's like $1 basically in yeah, it's about $1 in fire.
like as an American point of view, I'm okay with that. But I'm sure like $1 in Indonesia might be a little bit tougher. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think the boost should alleviate because I just saw someone like I went to the Warpcast channel and someone's like,
I just saw that
yeah,
Comstark.
yeah, they're like, I'm done, and I was like, damn, come on, man, don't be done. Like, don't be a sucker. Come on.
Well, I think yeah, I don't know. Hopefully he creates another village, but I mean, I think he's saying he's done and that his village is about to get raided
uh,
or raised because he got raided and he has no more wood.
yeah, I'm
That
hoping
is
it's
sad.
that. I am hoping that it's like this village is done, but they at least start another village. I'm
Yeah.
hoping the same thing too. Yeah, because like I wouldn't want them to just give up because yeah, that does suck. Like
But that scenario though, I think like eventually I'll make it less harsh there, to where you can kind of keep going, and not kind of run into that scenario. So
yeah, it looks like some 9 to 5 sucks said that I'm still doing that with the timers. Me too. It's weird for some reason. I turn on the notifications. Thank you for doing that, by the way. I don't know if Siri's like super aggressive or what, but like I'm not getting the notifications.
oh really?
Like I'm getting them, but like they're getting put into like my summary or like they're like not. I don't
Hmm.
know what it is, but like it's not coming through essentially. So I'm like I still had a
Well,
timer
that
tucked
could
in.
be something that I need to change. Because there are on notifications, like there are a couple settings of like maybe how high priority it is. Maybe like there might be some things I can tweak on there. So yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't get one for. I think there's one for like an hour before your fire goes out, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get that one today. Luckily, I had a timer going, and I got it down to like 13 minutes, which is the lowest I've gotten it to.
Oh.
Got real close. Remember, I
Yeah.
told you like 23. I was like, ooh, I was feeling feisty on that one. But 13 today, I was like, ooh, it's getting real close.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, they're just getting trapped somewhere in the void or something. But yeah, I still sometimes have a timer as well. Um, let's see. I'm not gonna hold you hostage too much longer, but what are some? Yeah, is there any like kind of plans or things that you could share about like what's coming next to Stokefire for people to kind of look forward to?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe this will be like the alpha section of like what's the new the new things.
Yeah.
And some of these are just like ideas. So like I've already talked I today a little bit I kind of shared some ideas for like the next like kind of the next close thing, which is making it so you can allocate villagers to defend your wood and defend your food. And then when you're raiding, you're then choosing how many villagers to raid a certain resource. So that would be kind of the next step of adding some strategy. But then after that, which I haven't talked about, is kind of the next step of building in like one making more things for you to build, with your villager. So you'll have some buildings that you can build that help you, and then those buildings you'll then be able to basically craft like weapons, with your villagers. And so you'll have to like allocate some villagers to like create some spears, or maybe it's like husband is it husbandry, I think is the right thing, like basically have like horses, like train
Hmm.
horses, So that then your villagers can like suit up in these different, they can suit up with their different military like things that they need. And then you can then send your villagers to raid with your gear and whatnot. And then there'll be some extra strategy stuff that comes with that, because different kind of weapons will do better or worse versus other weapons. So maybe it's something like, the archers are better than the spearmen, and so if you attack with archers and they're defending with spearmen, like you'll win there. um where if it was the horses or the knights attacking the spearmen would win because they can kind of reach with their spears. So I kind of have an idea for, it's almost like a circular logic, which is similar to rock paper scissors in a way, like like the circular logic of rock paper scissors, where
Yeah.
rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, paper beats rock. Kind of a similar thing like that, but with different kind of military units that you can create. And then that will kind of be the new battle logic of like choosing the right different weapons and stuff to go raid villages with. So I don't have like the details of that completely figured out yet, but like those are some of the ideas I've been thinking about that like we could go towards with Stokefire. And kind of the always like the idea is kind of, you have to kind of manage your villagers to do things, and you have your kind of military side that you're thinking about versus your economy side of like building up the resources you need, building the things you need to send your military out. And that's kind of always the trade-off, right? Like I think what makes games fun is having trade-offs where it's like you can decide to go do this thing, but if you do that, that means you can't go do this other thing. And I think that's something that like I learned from like Age of Empires 2, also kind of Civilization 5. Like that's kind of some of their main stuff is like having trade-offs between economy and military and like figuring those things out and like giving interesting decisions for the player to have some strategy around. So that's kind of gives you a little look at some of the ideas and things I'm hoping to go towards.
Yeah. No, loving it. I'm excited. My vote's for falconry.
For what?
Falconry.
Falconry?
Yeah, it's where you trade like hawks and like eagles
Oh,
to go
what do
attack.
they do?
I
They
don't
go
know.
like
Just
go
sounds
attack
cool.
people?
Yeah, they attack people. I'm just
Sounds good.
I'm messing around.
Well, so that does remind me though, like the other thing I want to like build towards is like more of like a economy of like trading things, where it's
Yeah.
like you can trade resources with other villages. It's like you can kind of either help villages or attack villages, and kind of bringing more of that to kind of bring some social elements as well. So yeah, definitely have some ideas for that, but that's also like it'll take some time to get to that point too, I think. But I think there's some really interesting things to explore there with some of the like the in-game economy kind of stuff.
With the in-game, like obviously, like I'm not gonna hold you to it, or no one
Hmm.
should hold you to it on here, anyways. But like, would the in-game economy stuff be like NFTs essentially to be traded,
Um,
or
I haven't
something like on
decided.
chain? Yeah,
I think I mean it's going to be on chain for sure, but would I make it tradable? Like right now, like wood and food, like that's not an NFT. It's not something you can actually really trade
yeah,
in marketplace. It's just like data in a smart contract. And I could make that tradable within game, but then it's not something you like buy with real money. I don't know if I'd ever. I don't know. I think in some ways having like extra NFTs and stuff that people are buying and stuff, I think that in some ways adds some extra monetary things that could potentially take away attention from fire kind of being the economy of the game.
hmm
Um, I think, it's been hard. I think it's been harder for some games to do the NFT marketplace kind of right, where it actually is something, either profitable or long time beneficial to everybody. I think the only reason I would do NFTs if it was more like a POAP kind of thing, right? Where it's like maybe you reach some level with your village and it's more just like a for fun kind of NFT that maybe means something to the player and I give that to them, but it's not really meant to be worth something of like dollar value. I think I could definitely see doing stuff like that where yeah, it's kind of more like a POAP, like you've like an achievement basically unlocked. Like you get this NFTs that you can like hold it in your wallet to kind of show you did something cool in Stokefire, but it's not necessarily something you're trading.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, it's good to hear your take on that because, like, I know before for front pivot specifically, it's like the example I'm thinking of. Like, they didn't have NFTs, and then I know that they've built some recently. So I was just kind of curious, like, where
Hmm.
you're. But I
But I
agree.
will say that I don't know if you knew this, but your Stokefire, like your village, is an NFT. So
Oh, I did not know that.
your whole village is connected to an NFT that right now I have it like turned off. Like you can't trade it. Like you can't move that NFT to a different wallet right now. But technically, I could open that up to where you could sell your village to somebody else, or you could, you know, give it to somebody else, and then they literally have your whole game, and they could start playing with your game. Because yeah, the whole game is connected to an NFT, which is just kind of an interesting thing. But again, I don't know if I'd actually open that up to be, I don't know, something that your people are paying for. Um,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the crazy thing about like Web3 games. Like you can do so much crazy stuff with it. Like that. Like
yeah.
that sounds cool. Like that you could do it, but at the same time, I'm like, would anyone buy my village? I guess like if you don't want to grind it. So
Hmm.
like, I mean, people are buying. They're paying for like Strava mules. So
What is that? I did not hear this.
oh no, you don't know. Dude, this is hilarious. There's like a whole underground economy about like people. You pay someone and you like $300 and they'll run the New York Marathon for you, and you just give them like your phone or your Apple
Hmm.
Watch and they'll like wear it while they run.
Oh, because your app then shows that you did that.
Uh-huh. And then you can just like post it on social, like, ran the
What?
ran the
That's
New York
lying.
Marathon. Yeah, it's like Strava muling, dude. So I'm like, so you could be like, yo, like I've had a village like alive for a year. This is worth
Hmm.
half an ETH, and if you don't want to put in the work.
I guess I haven't thought of it that way because in some ways, like if you are done, like if you don't want to continue your village, you can just redeem your rewards, and that like kind of the rewards value, like that's what your village is worth, right? Like that's what you can redeem it for right now. But in some ways, it's actually worth a little bit more than that reward amount because it has a score tied to it. And
Correct.
if someone wants to take that on and like keep it going, like it is potentially worth more than that reward amount to someone else if they're going to continue the village going forward. So I don't know. That's kind of, I haven't thought of that. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, I'll give you another anecdotal example of that. And I'll promise I'll let you go soon. But uh, I collected all 151 Pokemon.
Whoa.
And I have from like Pokemon Red. I think everyone's done it, but I got this little bad boy right here. It's like a GB emulator, so you can connect your Game Boy
Ooh.
games to it, play it in your desktop. But the cool
Nice.
thing about it is I actually got it to save my like status. So I was like, okay, I have all 151. And the issue with like the original Game Boy games is that when the battery dies, it wipes like your whole save. And I was like, no, no,
Mm.
no. I'm not losing these these 100
Yeah.
hours from back in the day. I was like, I'm saving this. But someone was like, yo, I'll buy like your save state essentially. And I was like, what the hell? Like they just wanted to show that they had all 151 without putting in the work. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was the thing.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, it's like the value of your account, but also like the street cred or the history behind it. Like
Yeah.
why let it die? Yeah, I think we should do a POAP, dude. I want to do a POAP. Maybe we'll do a community driven POAP. Let's chat about it. I've
Yeah.
been in a POAP craze recently, so
You like POAPs?
um, like might be strong, but I like the idea behind it. Like,
Mhm.
so I used it right now for. You're actually gonna get one for being on this podcast. So
Oh, nice.
I started doing like, if you've been subscribed to my newsletter for like, so I just did one for your. I've been doing the newsletter for 2 years, so like I did that. I'll do one for the podcast, like for episode 25, I think. So this is
Mhm.
episode 20.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
for like
You've been
listeners,
doing it.
Yeah, but I think you did like a lot more than I did. I think you're like at episode 100 or something.
I
That's a
know that
lot.
20 is good though. If you got into 20, I think I heard some stat that like most podcasts end at like episode 3 and they don't continue on. So
That's
you
exactly
made it.
it. Yeah, so like most stop at like 3 or 5, and like half of that even make it to 10, and then like literally like less than 1% make it to 25 or something like that. So that's why I was thinking of doing like episode 25 as like another one. But I
Nice.
just like it to like, I don't know, like it. I think of it like as a phone
Moment
book.
in time.
Yeah, like a moment in time. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Is it cheesy? Yeah, a little bit probably, but it's cool. Like let's capture the top 100 players or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe we can wait when it's a bit bigger or something. Well, we'll see. We can figure out the parameters, but
Yeah.
yeah, we can do something. I know a couple Pixar artists. That's why I'm like, it'd be fun to do one with them or something.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Because I know we've been going for about an hour 20. Um, I wanted to ask you one question that I ask everybody. This is a very hard question, but what is your favorite snack?
It's a hard question. I don't think that's that hard. Ice
No,
cream.
it's
I don't
ice
know. I
cream.
don't know if you call the snack. Does ice cream count as a snack? But like ice cream is my favorite thing,
Well,
basically.
we'll allow it. My snack is PB and J. So, what kind of ice
Yeah,
cream
that's a
though?
sandwich.
Okay, Mister Dessert. Technically,
Yeah.
PB and J is dessert too, but okay, yeah. What kind of ice cream?
Um, I mean, it changes. It goes up. I like a couple different ones. I like cookies and cream. I like anything with peanut butter, basically, like
Yeah.
chocolate peanut butter, stuff like that. Very good. And I have ice cream almost every night before I go to bed. So that's what I'm gonna do after this.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
You're living the life, man. You're like fire rich, number one in the
No.
leaderboard, and then eating ice cream every day. Like this is a life, man. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's all I had. Thanks
Sweet.
again. Yeah,
Thank you. It was good.
let me pause it. I don't know how fast your internet is, but it should tell you like how much more it's got to go.
Yeah. 99%.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so you should be